Josh Allen just won the NFL MVP. He silenced every critic, proved every doubter wrong, and reached the pinnacle of individual success. But while the world celebrates, there's an unsettling truth lurking beneath the surface. One that could unravel everything the Bills have built. It's a problem no one is talking about, but it might be the biggest threat to Buffalo's future. Could this be the beginning of the end for the Bills team as we know them? Well, let's get right into it. But before we get to this scary truth, we have to go way back to his early life. Now, his story starts in Firebaugh, California, a small farming town about 40 miles west of Fresno. It's the kind of place where everybody knows everybody, and football isn't just a game, it's part of the community. But long before Allen was making headlines in the NFL, he was just a kid growing up on a 3,000-acre cotton farm, learning the value of hard work. His family had been in Firebaugh for generations, dating back to the Great Depression when his great-grandfather settled there. Life on the farm wasn't easy. The days started early, and there was always something to do. Whether it was working in the fields, helping with irrigation, or handling equipment, hard work wasn't an option in the Allen household. It was expected. But Allen wasn't just about farm life. He had a competitive side that showed up in everything he did. Football, basketball, baseball. If there was a game to play, he was in it. His parents encouraged him to play multiple sports, believing it would help him become a better athlete. And it did. By the time he reached high school, he wasn't just participating, he was dominating. But before we continue, if you're enjoying this video, please hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell as we go ahead with the video. When he stepped onto the field for Firebaugh High School, he wasn't the highly recruited prospect you'd expect from an NFL quarterback. The school was small, and the football program didn't get much national attention. But that didn't stop him from lighting up defenses. In his time as the starting quarterback, Allen threw for over 5,000 yards and 59 touchdowns, numbers that should have put him on every college scout's radar. But they didn't. Scouts weren't looking at Firebaugh. The town didn't have the exposure of big football schools, and Allen didn't have the connections that could get his name out there. It wasn't just his arm that made him special. He had the size, the speed, and the confidence to take over games. He could launch the ball downfield one play and break off a long run the next. His ability to extend plays and make something out of nothing was already showing. But no matter how well he played, the scholarship offers never came. Coaches from Fresno State, the team he grew up watching, weren't interested. Other Division I programs didn't see him as a fit. And as his senior year came to an end, Allen was left with a frustrating reality. No major college wanted him. But giving up wasn't in his DNA. If no one was going to give him an opportunity, he was going to find a way to make one himself. And that's precisely what he did. He went on the only route he could: junior college. Interestingly, he enrolled at Reedley College, a small junior college in California. It wasn't the traditional path for an NFL prospect, but Allen wasn't interested in following someone else's journey. He just needed a chance to prove himself. At Reedley, he quickly took control of the offense. Big throws, big plays, big wins. He led an explosive attack, throwing for 26 touchdowns and showing off the arm strength that would later define his career. Even with those numbers, colleges weren't lining up to offer him. So he took matters into his own hands. He sent out emails to over 1,000 coaches across the country, hoping someone would take a chance on him. Most ignored him. Some politely declined. 2 teams, though, responded. One was Eastern Michigan, but they pulled their offer before he could commit. The other? Wyoming. It wasn't a powerhouse program, but it was Division I. And for Allen, that was all he needed. By 2016, Allen was the starting quarterback for the Wyoming Cowboys. Little did he know what was coming. At the time, this was his moment. No more getting overlooked. No more waiting for an opportunity. Now, the ball was in his hands. Literally. And he delivered. In his first entire season as the starter, Allen threw for 3,203 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. He added 523 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns, leading Wyoming to an 8-6 record and a bowl game appearance. Wyoming wasn't used to having a quarterback like this. He could launch deep passes effortlessly. He could scramble out of the pocket and extend plays. He could also bulldoze defenders in the open field. Then came 2017. The expectations were high, but the production dipped. Wyoming lost key offensive players, and it showed. Allen's numbers dropped to 1,812 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions in 11 games. The offense struggled. Critics pointed to his accuracy issues and questioned whether he could handle NFL-level defenses. But what stood out wasn't just the stats. It was the way he played. The arm strength, the athleticism, the ability to make throws no one else could. NFL teams weren't just looking at the numbers anymore. They were watching the tape. The biggest concern, though, was accuracy. His career completion percentage at Wyoming was just 56.2%, well below the standard for NFL quarterbacks. Some doubted whether he could ever develop into a reliable passer. But he had gone from a no-name recruit to one of the most talked-about prospects in the draft. He had done what almost no one thought was possible. Now, the only question left was, who would take the risk on him? His journey to the 2018 NFL Draft was anything but ordinary. He wasn't a five-star recruit. He didn't play for a powerhouse college program. His path was filled with obstacles, yet here he was, one of the most talked-about quarterbacks in his draft class. The Buffalo Bills had been searching for their franchise quarterback for years. Since Jim Kelly retired in the late 90s, the team had cycled through names like J.P. Lozman, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Tyrod Taylor. They needed a leader, someone who could bring stability to the position. And when the Bills were on the clock with their 7th overall pick, they made their decision. Josh Allen was their guy. Some analysts loved the pick, calling him a rare talent with superstar potential. Others were skeptical, pointing to his accuracy issues and level of competition in college. Buffalo didn't care about the doubts. They saw the upside, the arm talent, the mobility, and the mentality of a quarterback who was willing to outwork everyone. The Bills had made their bet. Now, it was Allen's turn to prove them right. Allen entered his rookie year as a backup, but that didn't last long. After starting the season on the bench, he was thrown into action in Week 2. The Bills were struggling, and they needed a spark. Allen was their best chance at finding one. His first few starts were a mix of exciting plays and rookie mistakes. The arm strength was evident. He could throw deep balls with ease, launching passes on the run, and make throws that other quarterbacks wouldn't even attempt. However, he also had accuracy issues and turnovers, which were expected for a young quarterback still adjusting to the NFL. One of his most memorable games came against the Minnesota Vikings in Week 3. The Bills were massive underdogs, expected to get blown out. Instead, Allen took over the game. He threw for 196 yards, ran for 2 touchdowns, and had a highlight reel hurdle over a defender that left everyone talking. Buffalo pulled off the upset, and Allen showed why the Bills believed in him. Throughout the season, he continued to make plays with his legs. He finished his rookie year with 631 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns, proving he was more than just a pocket passer. His passing stats were still a work in progress, 2,074 yards, 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, but the flashes were there. The talent was there. The question was whether he could take the next step. Buffalo entered the 2019 season with one goal: to help Allen take the next step. The team upgraded the offense, bringing in weapons like John Brown and Cole Beasley to give him reliable targets. The defense was already solid, and if Allen could improve, the Bills had a real shot at making the playoffs. And that's precisely what happened. His numbers took a leap forward. 3,089 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 510 rushing yards, and 9 rushing touchdowns. More than just the stats, Allen started looking like a true leader. He cut down on mistakes, made smarter decisions, and delivered in clutch moments. The most significant sign of progress came in Week 16 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was a low-scoring battle, and Allen had struggled for most of the game. But in the fourth quarter, with the game on the line, he stepped up, throwing a perfect pass to John Brown for the go-ahead touchdown. The Bills won the game and clinched a playoff spot. Buffalo finished the season 10-6, securing their second playoff appearance in 3 years. Allen had gone from an unpolished rookie to a quarterback capable of leading his team to the postseason. His playoff debut against the Houston Texans was a roller coaster. He started strong, making plays with his legs and throwing a 16-yard touchdown pass to put the Bills ahead early. But in the second half, the mistakes crept back in. A crucial fumble and some missed throws allowed Houston to stage a comeback and win in overtime. It was a challenging way to end the season, but it was also a learning experience. The Bills weren't just a playoff team anymore. They had their franchise quarterback, and with some growth, they were on the verge of something special. Allen had shown what he was capable of. Now, the next challenge was turning Buffalo into a true contender. Josh Allen had shown progress in 2019, but 2020 was different. This wasn't about taking another step forward. This was a leap. Right from week 1, it was clear something special was happening. Allen was dominating. Game after game, Allen delivered. The big arm, the mobility, the confidence, it all came together. By the end of the season, his numbers were on another level. 4,544 passing yards, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 421 rushing yards, and 8 rushing touchdowns. The Bills finished with a 13-3 record, their best in decades. They weren't just a playoff team anymore. They were contenders. In the wild card round, Allen faced the Colts. This time, there were no rookie mistakes. No costly turnovers. Just a clutch performance. 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a win. Then came Baltimore in the divisional round. It was a defensive battle, but Allen made the throws that mattered. A deep strike to Diggs for a touchdown helped Buffalo seal the 17-3 victory. The Bills were headed to the AFC Championship game, their first since 1993. The only thing standing in their way? Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Buffalo started strong, jumping out to a 9-0 lead, but the Chiefs responded fast. Mahomes and his playmakers were too much to handle. Allen kept fighting, throwing for 287 yards and 2 touchdowns, but it wasn't enough. The Bills fell 38-24. The season was over, but Allen had changed the conversation. He was no longer just a promising young quarterback. He was one of the best in the NFL. After the breakout season, the question was simple. Could Allen keep it up? Probably, but before we dive into that, there's a major issue that was lurking in the background. One that could turn everything upside down for the Bills. And trust me, if you're a Buffalo fan, this is something you do not want to ignore. We'll get to that soon, but first, let's talk about his 2021 season. Buffalo didn't just expect a good year, they expected a Super Bowl run. And, well, Allen delivered another incredible season. His rushing ability became an even bigger weapon. He wasn't just scrambling, he was running over defenders, extending drives, and scoring in the red zone. That season, the Bills finished 11-6, winning the AFC East again. They were back in the playoffs, and Allen was playing some of his best football. In the wild card round, Allen and the Bills faced their division rivals, the New England Patriots. It wasn't just a win, it was a statement. He played perfect football. 308 passing yards and 5 touchdowns, leading the Bills to a 47-17 demolition of the Patriots. Every drive ended in a touchdown. The game wasn't close from the start. Then came one of the greatest playoff games in NFL history. Buffalo versus Kansas City, divisional round. It was Allen versus Mahomes. Two of the best quarterbacks in the league were going throw for throw in a heavyweight battle. Allen put up 329 yards and 4 touchdowns, including what should have been a game-winning touchdown to Gabriel Davis with 13 seconds left. But 13 seconds was enough for Mahomes to get the Chiefs into field goal range. The game went to overtime. Kansas City won the coin toss, got the ball first, and scored. Allen never got another chance, and the Bills' season ended in heartbreak, losing 42-36. It was a crushing loss, but Allen had nothing left to prove. He had shown he could outplay anyone on any stage. The only thing left was to win it all. He had already proven he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but the goal remained the same: win a Super Bowl. The Bills had built their roster for a championship run. The pieces were there. Now, it was about execution. The season started off with a statement win over the defending champion Los Angeles Rams. Allen threw for 297 yards and 3 touchdowns, leading the Bills to a 31-10 blowout victory. Week after week, he put up MVP-level numbers. 4,283 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 762 rushing yards, and 7 rushing touchdowns. He wasn't just passing. He was running over defenders, driving for extra yards, and carrying the offense when it mattered most. The Bills finished with a 13-3 record, securing the AFC's number 2 seed. Buffalo now entered the playoffs with Super Bowl expectations. Their first test? The Miami Dolphins in the wild card round. Allen had a mixed game. throwing for 352 yards and 3 touchdowns, but also committing 3 turnovers. Still, the Bills pulled off a 34-31 win. Then came the divisional round against the Cincinnati Bengals, a game that wasn't even close. From the opening drive, Cincinnati took control. Allen and the offense never found a rhythm. The snow was falling and the crowd was loud, but the Bengals were the better team. Buffalo lost 27-10, ending their season in disappointment again. For the second straight year, he had played at an elite level, but the team had fallen short. The frustration was growing. Heading into 2023, the Bills had significant decisions to make. They had already committed to Allen, signing him to a 6-year, $258 million contract extension. He was now one of the highest-paid players in the NFL. The contract meant Buffalo had to be careful with their roster moves. They couldn't afford to keep everyone. Key players left, and the Bills had to rely on younger talent to step up. From the start, the season was rocky. Allen continued to put up big numbers, but there was a problem: turnovers. He fumbled in key moments and did costly mistakes. But the Bills finished 10-6, securing another playoff berth, but they weren't the dominant team they had been in previous years. And, well, the playoffs brought a familiar matchup: Buffalo versus Kansas City in the divisional round. The game was tight the entire way. Allen threw for 186 yards, 1 touchdown, and ran for 72 yards and 2 more scores. With less than 2 minutes left, the Bills had a chance to win. Allen led them into field goal range, but the kick sailed wide right. The Chiefs took over, ran out the clock, and ended Buffalo's season with a 27-24 loss. Once again, Allen played well, but it wasn't enough. Another year, another painful ending. His career has been filled with big games, highlight plays, and record-breaking performances, but one name always seems to stand in his way: Patrick Mahomes. But there is an even bigger problem. Josh Allen is entering the biggest year of his career, but not just on the field. Off it, his contract is about to become a massive problem for the Buffalo Bills. His 6-year, $258 million deal was always going to get expensive, but in 2025, things get real. His cap hit jumps to $44.7 million, a massive chunk of the team's total budget. And here's the issue: when one player eats up that much of the salary cap, there's less money to go around. Less money means fewer quality players, and fewer quality players make it much harder to compete for a Super Bowl. The Bills are already feeling the pressure. They've had to let key players walk, relying on cheaper, younger talent to fill the gaps. But how much can you sacrifice before the team just isn't good enough anymore? The NFL has seen this before. Quarterbacks sign massive deals, and suddenly the team around them starts falling apart. Patrick Mahomes? He had to restructure his contract to keep Kansas City competitive. Tom Brady? He consistently took less money so the Patriots could build a dynasty. But Allen? He's locked into a contract that only gets more expensive. So, what happens now? The Bills are still a playoff team, but are they still a championship team? That's the scary truth. Allen is good enough to carry a team, but even the best quarterbacks need help. And if Buffalo can't afford to give him that help, their Super Bowl window might be closing faster than anyone realizes.